Hey, Big Ben back here with you. So you're adopted, and I am too. And you're looking for your biological people just like I did. Today's just going to be a story, man. Story about my friend and his mom. I've mentioned him in a previous video, and I'm just going to tell her story. And her story's like this. When she was 17 years old, she gave a baby up for adoption. Now, that's the beginning of the story, not the end. So, when she was 17 years old, she was in a situation that she didn't want to be in. And something happened that she didn't want to happen. And out of that, she ended up pregnant. Well, her parents were very religious people, and it was, shameful in their eyes to have a daughter that was pregnant, that wasn't married. So they sent her off to a maternity house to have the baby. And basically told her, hey, you get to have the baby, give him or her up for adoption, and until then, we don't want to see you. Well, that's pretty traumatic when you're 17 years old, I guarantee you that. That's traumatic if you're an adult, much less if you're 17 years old. Anyway, she did those things. She had a son, gave him up for adoption. She returned home. And then locked it down for 30 years. Never said a word to anybody about it for 30 years. Kept it locked down inside of her. That's got to be a hard thing to do. Well, she's visiting a friend of hers. And the friend shows her a picture of this girl that she had never seen before. And she asked the friend, who's that? And the friend told her, said, that's my daughter. I just recently found her. I gave her up for adoption when she was a baby. And man, my friend's mom she said she just had to say it. I gave up a baby for adoption too 30 years ago. And man, she always kind of had that wondering feeling inside. I wonder what happened to him. I wonder how his life is. But it was locked down on her, man. She had it locked down for, 30 years. Well, her friend said, hey, I belong to this support group. And you should come and talk with us. It's people that had given up babies for adoption, and people that have adopted babies too, birth parents and adoptive parents. And you should come and, hang out at our support group. Well, she did. And the more she was around it, the more she decided, I'm going to point my life. I need to find out what happened to him. She, just got divorced and felt like that would help tie up a bunch of loose ends so she could start her life over. So she told this information to her parents, that she was going to try to find her biological son. And they weren't too supportive about it. They said it wasn't a good idea. Well, she went ahead and did it anyway. She wasn't getting no support there, but she getting support at the support group. And like I said in the past, man, you need somebody, you need some support. That's my number one thing. And, it's true. I believe that 100%. You need somebody to support you. Anyway, back to my friend and his mom. Well, there was a problem. There's always a problem in this whole deal, but she decided she was going to search for him, and there was a really good searcher in this support group. The problem was she couldn't remember the baby's birthday. Now, she remembered the year and she remembered the month, but she couldn't remember his birthday. Again, she was 17 years old, shipped off, told don't come back until you give, and then had this locked down for 30 years. It might be hard to remember the day. But anyway, luckily for her, this searcher was really good at searching people and found them. Like in a month. Everything she needed, man. Name, address, phone number, the whole thing. Well, she's kind of blown away when she reads his name. Because they named him Michael. And my best friend's name is Mike, her oldest son that she raised. And it was, it's a little confusing when you're around them sometimes when you got two Mikes. Anyway, back to my friend's story. Well, she didn't want to call him. She just didn't feel that was right. So she wrote him a letter. Give him the opportunity to contact her, to see if he even wanted to. Well, she sent this letter off, but sent it to the post office where you have to sign to pick it up, And she waited and waited and waited, man, nothing. Eventually, this letter comes back. She's kind of devastated, unopened. Nobody ever picked this letter up. Well, she went ahead and thought to herself, I'll just put it in the mailbox and mail it to the address I have and see how that goes. And she did, sent it off. Well, there was a problem. They'd moved from that address. They didn't live there no more. But a relative lived there, and they were still getting their mail there. So this guy's wife goes over there to pick up the mail, and there's a letter for her husband that's got another woman's name on it. I don't know about your wife. My wife's going to read it, and so did his. And she's blown away, man. Blown away. There's everything in there. There's her name, her address, her phone number, a story of, a brief description of why she gave him up for adoption. She blown away, man. She took that home to her husband. And her husband sat down and read that. Now, Mike said he's never been really interested in finding his biological people. He's really happy with the life he had. Just happy to have a chance at life. And once he read that letter, he was really happy that he had a chance at life. But he said he never had that desire, feeling to find his biological people. He was very happy with the people that adopted him, his parents, raised him. Now, Mike was raised an only child. But he got pretty excited when he read in that letter he had 4 siblings, 4 half-siblings. And like I've said in the past, man, that half-sibling connection, there's something about that half-sibling connection, man. You find out you have a half-sibling, and even for my friend, he knew nothing about this whole deal. His mom never spoke a word about it to anybody until, he was 25, 26 years old and said, hey, you have a brother out there, I'm going to search for him. Well, he's blown away. He's blown away that he's got a brother out there, And anyway, Mike, like I said, Mike was an only child, and now he's got 4 siblings. Well, I'll tell you what, it was pretty easy for Mike to pick up that phone and call that number. He went and called that number, and she went up and visited him at his house, made contact with him. It was a couple of weeks later, and he came down there, man, excited to meet his siblings. And they all hung out together, and, man, he couldn't be happier that he had some siblings now. And they couldn't be happier that they had another one in the family. Hey, they get along great. Now, she told me, in this video I watched, she said, first few years, she's really, really cautious about what she said or did around him because she was so scared and worried about him not wanting to come down and see her anymore, not be around her anymore. Just had that, just scared, man. It'd been 30 years since she seen him, and he's a full-grown man, and just didn't want another 30 years to go by without seeing him again. They got comfortable with each other after a while. Him and her both. They get along fantastic, and he's told her, man, I'd have never took off. I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't, be able to talk to my siblings, that's for sure, and you. And he thanks her for making that decision to, give him up for adoption. There was another option out there, but she gave him a chance at life, and he was happy with it and happy that he found her. I don't know what I can add. There's nothing I can add to that story. That's just, to know that, and once you find out, again, you as an adoptee, you have all these ideas and thoughts of why this happened, and you just have all these weird ideas of why they gave you up for adoption, and man, until you know the truth, it's sometimes the truth will blow you away, and it, even in my case, I came out of a similar situation, and I'm thankful that I had an opportunity to go around this world, and man, I can't thank him enough. I'm grateful for that decision. All right, man. I hope I told this story well. I hope you understand how traumatic it was for her to give her child up for adoption when she was 17 years old. How much pain this must cause this woman for holding it in for 30 years without speaking about it. And it was very emotional to watch the video of her talking about it. It, you know, like I said, they found him in 1996. It's, 2018. And it's still hard for her to talk about the whole thing. Hey, thank you for sending me that story, and thank you for letting me share your story. I hope somebody finds this and it's useful to them. But I just wanted to give you that the biological parent side, the birth parent side of giving a baby up for adoption. She had that deep down desire, wanting to know where he was at and how his life was, and just like I had the same questions about my biological mother, just, the opposite way. Who is she? How was her life? All those questions you have. She had the same questions. She just had them locked down inside because, it was just so shameful. In her parents' eyes, it was shameful. And she just couldn't speak about it until she ran into that one friend that just happened to spark that fire in her. And, here it is, like I said, 20-something years later, and they all have a great relationship. And they all couldn't be happier with one another. Not all reunions go well. This one did. Mine, the two that I've had with my biological people have been fantastic. So, but, all right, man. Hope this finds you good. Hope you're doing well. Big Ben. Hey, we'll do this again.